Every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and thank you so much for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News today, broadcasting live from our Lagos studio. I am Abosedi Omowie. In our top stories tonight. Many thanks for joining us tonight. Now the news in full. President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to Abuja after his one-week working visit to the People's Republic of China. In a statement, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, discloses that he was received on arrival at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, by some top government officials. Buhari was accompanied on the trip by some state governors and ministers, including the governors of Ogun, Oyo, Kaduna, Benue, the ministers of Industry, Trade and Investment, and Agriculture. Shehu says the president believed that the agreement concluded with the Chinese during the visit would have a huge and positive impact on key sectors of the Nigerian economy, including power, solid minerals, agriculture, housing, and rail transportation. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has said that his administration will take urgent steps to restructure Nigeria's economy by encouraging new investment in mining, agriculture and manufacturing. Speaking at a reception in his honor by the Communist Party of China, President Buhari notes that Nigeria will welcome the support of the Chinese government, foreign investors and local businesses for efforts to diversify the nation's economy. The president adds that the diversification of the Nigerian economy was long overdue, as continued reliance on crude oil export had always made the economy vulnerable to shocks. Meanwhile, the secretary of the Communist Party, who is also the governor of the Guangdong province, Ho Chinhua, has pledged that the region will support the implementation of all the bilateral agreements reached with the Chinese government during President Buhari's visit. The Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, says Nigeria will overcome its economic challenges without taking loans from the IMF. In a statement issued in Abuja on Saturday, Adeosun made the observation of the ongoing spring meetings of the IMF World Bank in Washington, D.C., while responding to questions why the government has refused to apply for IMF loans. The minister discloses that Nigeria is adapting to its new realities by implementing fiscal policies to steer the country back on track for stable growth with a diversified economy. The minister expresses optimism that sound fiscal policies and investment would boost Nigeria's economy by the year 2017. Adeosun says with a truly diversified economy, government would have enabled opportunities for wealth creation that would flow down to every Nigerian. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has called on parents to accord girl children equal access to education as their male counterparts as way of reducing the literacy level in the country. President Buhari, ably represented by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, made the plea at the public presentation of the book titled The Essentials of Beauty Therapy, authored by his wife, Aisha Buhari. State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole has more on the story.
Represented by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, President Buhari says the book reinforced the call for equal educational opportunities for both male and female child.
And I think that her life underscores the great importance of ensuring that women are educated and that they're given all the opportunities that that boys are given growing up.
Represented by his wife, Oluremi Tinubu, the chairman of the book presentation, Bola Tinubu, commends the author of the book for giving an insight into an industry yet to be fully explored in the country.
We are at the point now. Women have a key role to play here. We have seen how industrious women from different climes have participated in turning around of the fortunes of their communities and countries.
For her part, wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, says proceeds from the book presentation will be dedicated to the vulnerable members of the society.
It is my belief that this book, as a training manual, it will be part of the curriculum of the National Board of Technical Education, MBTE, Educational Enterprise Institute.
The proceeds of the book presentation is expected to be dedicated to the vulnerable members of the society, according to the author, but safe return of the kidnapped Chibok girls and strengthening the existing security apparatus in the country is topmost on the wish list of Nigerians. From the presidential villa in Abuja, Abiola Oluwole reporting for CoreTV News.
In other reports, the federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to eliminate quackery in the teaching profession. The Minister of State for Education, Professor Anthony Anwoka, disclosed this in Abuja shortly after monitoring the entrance examination into Unity colleges organized by the National Examination Council, NECO. He said steps are being taken to ensure that only qualified teachers are allowed to teach in the nation's education sector. The Registrar of the National Examination Council, Abdullahi Garaba, who also monitored the conduct of examination in Abuja, announced plans by the Council to embrace computer-based testing, CBT, starting with the Senior Secondary School Certificate Examinations, SSCE. Now, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, says the federal government will fight unemployment by creating mass employment opportunities for unskilled and unemployed Nigerians. Senator Ngige announced this during the resettlement of 250 graduates of Vocational Skills Development Program in Anambra State under the National Directorate of Employment. He says this can be done through vocational skills acquisition, agricultural and entrepreneurial skills, as well as transient employment opportunities in the public works sector. The minister says the federal government would ensure aggressive tackling of unemployment to change the face of the entire nation for good. And now the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed another legal action instituted by the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, which seeks to stop his trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal over an alleged false asset declaration. Justice Abdulkadir Kafarati dismissed the case on the grounds that Saraki's fear that he will not get justice at the CCT was speculative, misplaced, and has no place in law. Our judiciary correspondent, Basil Okafo, has more in this report.
In a ruling, Justice Kafarati held that the Senate President was wrong to have filed the suit, which seeks to stop the trial on account that it violates his fundamental human rights. The judge insists that the issue Saraki is raising falls outside Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution and the African Charter on People and Persons' Rights. Justice Kafarati, however, agreed with the Federal Government Counsel, Rotimi Jacobs, that Saraki's case constituted a gross abuse of court process, having taken same to Court of Appeal and even Supreme Court, where decisions were made against him.
The presiding judge is himself a subject of investigation by the EFCC, and the EFCC are prosecuting the case before him. Is it appropriate for him to continue to preside over a matter in that kind of situation?
I'm not surprised. It's a natural thing that, and I'm happy that the rule of law prevails, because we have been saying this for a long time, we have been saying it that this application ought not to have been filed.
Saraki had filed a legal action seeking enforcement of his fundamental human rights to a fair trial on the criminal charges brought against him by the federal government at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. The Senate president, through his lawyer, claims that he cannot get justice from the CCT chairman, Danladi Umar, who he said is being investigated by the EFCC and who is also being used by the same EFCC and its lawyers to prosecute him. Justice Kafarati had earlier declined from delivering the judgment after online media accused him of receiving bribe from Saraki, but Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Ibrahim Auta, directed him to deliver the judgment. Basil Okafo, CoreTV News, Abuja.
To security matters now, in line with the presidential directive to step up the security of coastal waters, the Nigerian Navy is launching an operation to stem the tide. The representative of the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Henry Babalola, made this known while addressing newsmen in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere completes the report.
Since January 14, 2016, the maritime terrain has been experiencing attack on merchant shipping, hostage taking, kidnapping and hijack of vessels. In lieu of this, Nigerian Navy has launched Operation Tereseku, which literally means securing the water in order to ensure that the sea area are secured for legitimate trade.
As I started Teku, we have a very senior flag officer of the rank of Commodore as the officer in tactical command, and he will have our major ships that he will use.
He added that the task force is concentrating efforts on Brass and Bonny area as is the main entry for the perpetrators.
The major ships, that is NNS, Okpabana and Kianwa, will join in the patrol efforts, and then at some other times of the day, they will be at Anchorage, offshore the very notorious Brass River entrances up to Akasa.
However, Nigerian Navy pledged modest contribution to ensure the degree of security in the maritime environment. Kikelomo Okere, CoreTV News, Abuja.
In the meantime, the Central Naval Command, CNC, of the Nigerian Navy has reiterated the warning of the federal government against economic sabotage. The CNC, which covers strategic areas of the country's maritime assets, including, says it is determined to crush pipeline vandals and oil thieves within its areas of responsibility. The CNC discloses that the naval headquarters recently fortified the asset of the CNC with additional 10 patrol boats, which has helped its operations. President Muhammadu Buhari, while in China, vowed to deal with vandals like members of the Boko Haram sect. Now, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 7, Bala Nasarawa, says the Kaduna State Police Command will undergo massive restructuring as part of measures to improve performance. The AIG in charge of Abuja, Niger and Kaduna State made this known while addressing journalists in Kaduna. CoreTV correspondent was there and now reports.
AIG Bala Nasarawa, who recently reported to duty in the Kaduna State Police Command in the wake of the much publicized incidences of kidnapping and other crimes in the state, says the prompt restructuring of the State Police Command is long overdue.
Many policemen in this command have spent about 25, 26, 30, 32 years. It is not healthy for policing for somebody to remain in one place for 30 years and then to retire after 35 years. We are not native police.
The police boss says as part of efforts to rid the state of criminals, contingent from the counter-terrorism unit, the intelligence response team, as well as a forensic and crime data unit, all from the force headquarters Abuja, have arrived at the state. Nasarawa, who also paraded a large number of suspects, tells newsmen that over 400 of these suspects are presently in police custody. He says 8 suspected kidnappers linked with the abduction of 3 clergymen are among those presently in custody.
One AK-47 rifle with some rounds of ammunition were recovered from them. Also, 100,500 naira, other foreign currencies, motorcycle and 3 passport photographs of the victim were equally recovered from them.
The AIG promises to restructure the Kaduna Police Command, assuring members of the public of its readiness to make Kaduna State a safe haven for everyone.
The Assistant Inspector General of Police, Bala Nasarawate. Now, the Ondo State government has called on the federal government to quickly address the issue of farmers and herdsmen crisis in the country. The Ondo spokesman, Eni Akinshola, says it is high time the federal government took drastic steps to provide solution to the problem. Our correspondent tells us more in this report.
All stakeholders, from the president.
The Ondo State government has urged federal government to learn from other countries how they have been able to develop their grazing and cattle rearing system without issues.
I'm not sure we have as many cattle in Nigeria as we have in Argentina or Brazil. You don't go along the street in Argentina or Brazil and see cattle on streets in other people's farms. We cannot be providing 16th century solution to 21st century challenges. And that is what the federal government seems to be doing, or if at all is providing any solution.
Governor Olusegun Mimiko condemns the action of the cattle rearers in the state, which has led to the death of a member of the Oodua People's Congress at Olufalaye's farm recently.
These herdsmen must be called to order. They must be called to order. This wanton destruction, this audacious incursion into other people's territory cannot continue.
Members of the Oodua People's Congress have called on the Ondo State government to fish out those responsible for the act so as to avoid crisis in the state.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. Still ahead, the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists appeals to members to always place premium on safety of patients at all times. Details of this and other report after this break. Do stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digi360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
With over 7 billion of world population and still counting, the world needs to hear you now than ever. Whatever your ministry or vision is, Gospel Africa will help get you there faster than you think possible. For inquiries and participation, contact 009 503 3859 or 0812 076 0011 or visit www.gospelafricang.com. Gospel Africa, the #1 media solutions for the church today. Gospel Africa, showing on this station at this time.
So glad to have you join us again on CoreTV Primetime News, reaching you live from our Lagos studio. Let's take a recap of our top stories. You can get more on our top stories, other news and information on our social media platforms. Facebook.com/CoreTV News. On Twitter @CoreTV News NG. And on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV /space news. Moving on, the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists has appealed to its members to always place premium on safety of patients at all times. The chairman of the FCT branch of the association, Ndubuisi Ebitia, made the appeal at this year's World Biomedical Laboratory Science Day with the theme, Patient Safety First. Bukola Afeni completes the story.
That is why we keep emphasizing on
according to the chairman, patient safety is a serious global public health issue, saying that 1 out of 10 patients is harmed while receiving hospital care. He says in Nigeria, more patients encounter harmful impacts while innocently seeking care.
We call on government, especially the National Assembly, to quickly pass the bill for the establishment of the National Postgraduate Medical Laboratory Science College, which will contribute to the training of specialists in germane fields of medical laboratory science.
The representative of the national president, Soji Billy Rose, advises patients to always seek medical attention from professionals.
They are safety conscious, that they adhere to international best practice when it comes to to safety. There are times when people will just say, let me touch this sample, let me touch that fluid, without, very quickly, because there's an emergency, and you don't remember to put on your gloves.
The president of Association of Female Medical Laboratory Scientists is also advising his members to always put on preventive gears before attending to patients. This will prevent both the practitioners and patients from likely infection.
As a medical lab scientist, we know that before you do anything in the lab, you must put on your PPE, protective wears, equipment. So it is advised that once you go in, your safety stance and the safety of your patients should also count.
The member is urging the National Assembly to pass the bill for the establishment of the National Postgraduate Medical Laboratory Science College, which will contribute to training of specialists in the field. Bukola Afeni, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Now to Plateau State, where rainstorms have wreaked havoc on some communities in the state, destroying property worth millions of naira. The damages have been recorded in Jos North, Jos South, Kanam and Riyom local government councils, among others. The residents are pleading with the state government and relevant agencies to come to their aid. Our Plateau State correspondent has more. When our crew visited Riyom local government council, the heavy rain had demolished the buildings while the winds took away the roofs. It was also discovered that crops were destroyed as a result of flood, which washed away the farmlands. Chuang Dam says he has lost his family house to the rainstorm.
We have to look for wherever we want to sleep, and we dismiss ourselves like a riot comes. Nobody knows where you find yourself to sleep.
The member representing Riyom in the Plateau State House of Assembly pleads with the executive to come to the aid of his people in order for them to return to their homes and resume their normal business activities.
It is very important that SEMA should come in. Not only SEMA, NEMA should also come in and assist in a situation like this, because when people are in terrible situations like of this nature, I think it is very important that such organizations should come to the aid of people that are affected.
Yesterday about 4 o'clock, there was a heavy storm, rainstorm. So it blows most of the houses around here. And most of the houses that are affected are the ones you can see now physically.
It remains unknown what the response of the state government and that of the relevant authorities would be to the victims of this natural disaster. A very pathetic scene there. In other reports, the Nigerian army says the troops of the 3 Battalion rescued the hostages and also killed 17 of the insurgents during the operation at Wulge and Walamari. The acting director, Army Public Relations, Colonel Sani Usman, says the rescued captives have been taken to the camp of the internally displaced persons at Gamboru. The acting Army spokesman says the troops carried out the raid when they arrested a Boko Haram spy near the headquarters of their battalion at Gamboru Ngala, who led them to the insurgents' hideout. Usman says the troops who destroyed 12 of the camps of the insurgents also recovered 5 motorcycles, 8 bicycles, 1 AK-47 rifle and a Dane gun from the insurgents. Meanwhile, Yobe government, in collaboration with the Nigerian army, has reopened the 132 kilometers Damaturu-Biu Federal Road, which was blocked 3 years ago by Boko Haram insurgents. At the reopening of the road, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, Chief of Army Staff, says the road is strategic to the economic well-being of Yobe, as it links the state capital with many units. He says this will also impact positively on the current military operations in the area by boosting the achievement of the troops. Buratai charges the Yobe government to accelerate work on the reconstruction of the road to encourage vibrant economic activities. Yobe Governor Ibrahim Gaidam, in a speech, commends the army and all the security agencies for restoring peace in the state, reassuring that the state government would reconstruct the road. Now, the Nigerian army has promised to sustain collaboration with the media towards educating Nigerians on its ongoing anti-terrorism operation in the northeastern part of the country. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, stated this on Saturday while inaugurating a newly refurbished studio at the northeast headquarters of the Nigeria Television Authority in Maiduguri. Buratai says sustained collaboration with the media is imperative because of the role of the media in disseminating information to the people. And in other news, the acting chairman, Board of Trustees of the Association of Local Government of Nigeria, Odunayo Ategbero, says the federal government is tampering with local government allocation to pay back the London buyback debt. The association has been meeting in Abuja to iron out areas of differences relating to the deductions that it claims have been made on their allocations. Bukola Feni brings us the report.
Algon members are protesting the deduction from their allowances. The association is claiming that the money borrowed by the federal government were being paid from the local government allocations, a move they say is necessitating their suing the federal government.
Some people just sat down somewhere and they are awarded contracts on behalf of the 774 local government, and that is not proper. What we say is that it's not proper. Some people cannot just say because they have the opportunity of becoming executive members of Algon for a particular period and award contracts to some people.
The association is also contesting the fraudulent contract being awarded by the former president of Algon. He says the money that is being made for grassroots development is being mismanaged by one person.
Local governments never took out any loans. They never did. So it was manifestly unjust. It was wrong for what they did. So the first test case was about 4 years ago.
The members are seeking judgment from the court of law and judicious use of the monies meant for their councils. Bukola Afeni, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Well, you're still watching CoreTV Primetime News, reaching you live from our Lagos studio. Still ahead, outside Nigeria, Iraq's parliament cancels third session in a week to discuss political reforms as some of its members dispute the legitimacy of the speaker to chair the meeting. Details of this, all the reports from outside Nigeria and sport after this timeout. Do join us.
You know, Angela, that's a very difficult question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
Angela, that's a great question.
Great question, Angela.
Angela, that is a very great question.
That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Yeah, very good question. That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's an interesting question.
This is an interesting question you pose.
60 Minutes with Angela. Gain answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
CoreTV News now live on all Androids.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
Download CoreTV News app from your Play Store. Click on the menu to see all our top stories from politics, sports, business, foreign news and live TV to watch us live on your mobile.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
You can also click on video to see all our YouTube videos. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. It's still CoreTV Primetime News, reaching you live from our Lagos studio. Now in report from beyond the shores. Pope Francis has taken 12 Syrian migrants back with him to the Vatican after visiting a camp on the Greek island of Lesbos. The three families, including 6 children, are all Muslims who had their homes bombed during the Syrian war. In a statement, the Vatican says this move by Pope Francis is to make a gesture of welcome to the refugees. While on the island, Pope Francis says he wants the refugees to know they are not alone and implored European leaders to come to their aid in a spirit of fraternity and solidarity. Thousands of migrants are now stuck on Lesbos after last month's EU-Turkey deal to try to ease the flow. Iraq's parliament has cancelled its third session in a week to discuss political reforms as some of its members dispute the legitimacy of the speaker to chair the meeting. A statement from the office of the speaker, Salim Al-Juburi, discloses that Saturday's session was scrapped because parliament could not be secured by security forces. The speaker's position is under threat as some Iraqi lawmakers say they have enough votes to replace him. The latest cancellation comes after chaotic scenes inside Parliament earlier this week, when MPs came to blows and argued over a plan to overhaul Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi's cabinet by bringing in technocrats in a bid to check corruption. Now, troops have been called in after a second, more powerful earthquake hit southern Japan, killing at least 19 people, toppling large buildings and causing a massive landslide. Friday's earthquake is the second major tremor to rock Japan south in 24 hours after a 6.2 quake hit near Mashiki town on Thursday, killing 9 people and injuring about 1,000 others. Japanese government spokesperson Yoshihide Suga discloses that over 1,500 people have been injured, 80 of them seriously, by the 2 quakes on the southwestern Kyushu island. Suga says the military will be boosted to 20,000 for rescue effort, adding that police and firefighters are also being ordered to the southwestern region. Now, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his Iranian counterpart Hassan Rouhani have agreed to strengthen economic ties and cooperate in the fight against terrorism. Their meeting on Saturday in Erdogan's palace near the Turkish capital, Ankara, comes a day after Iran was accused of supporting armed groups and interfering in the affairs of Middle Eastern countries, including Syria and Yemen, at a summit of Muslim heads of state in Istanbul. In a joint press conference on Saturday, Erdogan says Turkey and Iran must collaborate to narrow their differences in order to tackle violence and sectarianism in the region. Erdogan says it is above the country's interest to strengthen their political dialogue and reduce differences of opinion to a minimum. Let's now bring you sports.
Our style, and that's what he delivered.
In sports reports at this time, Nigeria's Golden Eaglets have finally been paid their outstanding bonuses and allowances 5 months after winning the FIFA Under-17 World Cup in Chile. The payment includes daily allowances for the entire period they were out of the country, first in Argentina for pre-World Cup and then in Chile for the competition proper. The win bonuses for the semi-final and final matches were also paid. It is estimated that each player received a total of about $8,000. In November, Nigeria outscored fellow Africans Mali 2-0 to win a record 5th Under-17 World Cup. Now, Sunderland have climbed to within a point of safety by beating relegation rivals Norwich at Carrow Road. At the end of an even first half, Fabio Borini buried a penalty following Andrew Wisdom's rash challenge in the box. The Italian put in an excellent cross for Jermaine Defoe to turn in a second after the break before Duncan Watmore scored a third in injury time. Nathan Redmond hit a post and Norwich had penalty appeal turned down, but the comeback near gathered real pace. Instead, Sunderland could easily have increased their winning margin before Watmore darted onto fellow substitute Sebastian Larsson pass and finally made the hosts pay for the space left behind as the committed numbers forward. Now here are results of Premier League matches played today. Norwich lost 0-3 to Sunderland, while Everton drew 1-1 with Southampton. Manchester United defeated Aston Villa by 1-0, while Newcastle United thrashed Swansea by 3-0. In other results, Watford recorded a goal against West Brom, while Manchester City pounded Chelsea 3-0. Now, 8-time winner Rafael Nadal, recovering from a set down, has reached the Monte Carlo Masters final after defeating Britain's Andy Murray. Murray broke twice to take the opening set 6-2, but wilted under the Spaniard's power and accuracy to lose the next two 6-4, 6-2. The win is Nadal's 7th over Murray in 8 meetings on clay and put him into his 100th ATP World Tour final. Murray beat Nadal for the first time on clay in last year's Madrid Masters final, but his hopes of being only the 3rd player to earn back-to-back victories over the world number 5 on the surface were dashed in a brutal 2.5-hour encounter. Nadal now faces Jo-Wilfried Tsonga or fellow Frenchman Gael Monfils in the final. Now to Formula One, world champion Lewis Hamilton will start the Chinese Grand Prix from last place on the grid as Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg took pole. A power unit problem for Hamilton meant his difficult start to the season continues, and a 17-point deficit to Rosberg could grow further on Sunday. Daniel Ricciardo took 2nd for Red Bull as Ferrari blew their challenge. Both Kimi Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel made errors on their final lap and could manage only 3rd and 4th. Despite qualifying taking place on a near-dry track following heavy rain, warm and dry conditions are expected for Sunday's race, where more than 125,000 fans are expected. Well, that is it on Sport and on CoreTV Primetime News today. But before we go, let's take another look at our top stars. Many thanks to you for being a part of CoreTV Primetime News today. Remember, you can get more on our news and other information on our social media platforms. I am Abosedi Omowi. Do have a pleasant night rest.